Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I feel like I haven't done a sit down video like this in a very long time, but I don't know, it felt like time. It was about time. It felt like time. It felt like about time. It was about time. I wanted to mention I cleaned my desk just for you guys. However, it still looks kind of messy. Like what? What is that? I have a little matcha here and we're going to talk about some books. But first I have a few life updates because some things have changed in my life and I want to talk about them really fast. So starting off, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I was a manager at a coffee shop for a while. I decided not to do that anymore. So I actually got a waitress job. So I am now a server. That was pretty easy to say actually. So I don't know why I was thinking about it so hard. I am now a server like 4-ish days a week. I'm actually still training. But then I will be a server and be serving. Which is a lot different than working at a coffee shop. But it's been good. So yeah. That's like my only life update actually. Okay, let's get into the books. Let's talk about the books I've read this month, shall we? The books. So I read 5 books this month, and if you guys watched my vacation vlog to South Carolina, that is honestly where I read a majority of the books that I read this month. I did read a couple more, so I read 5 books total in the month of June. Let's talk about them. Okay, so as some of you know, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I read this book while I was on vacation. I think it took me, I want to say 2.5 days, I think, which is pretty good for me reading a book, especially a romance. This book it's 400 pages. I didn't even know that. And I believe I gave this a 3.75 star. I have thought about it a couple times after I've read it, thought about the characters and things like that. However, I did not like the main woman character personally. She had a lot of issues that I feel like she wasn't really dealing with, but I liked the setting a lot and I thought the male character was good. Let me just, do I even remember? Yeah, I really liked the male character in this book. So basically, they both think they're cursed and that whoever they date breaks up with them and then finds their own true love. So they decide to date each other, but she has a lot of past trauma about her mom, and his mom is going to jail, so he's gonna have to raise his 3 younger siblings soon. So that's some conflict that happens in this book, which I actually kind of enjoyed that conflict because you don't know for a while what's happening, and then when you figure it out, it's like, oh wow, you know, like he's gonna be a dad of 3 soon, basically. You know, it's still his siblings, but he has full custody of them. So that was a very intriguing part of the plot. The part I didn't really love is the part with her mom. She was like not in her life a lot and very like spastic and like left her alone and stuff, and I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite to read about. But other than that, I did enjoy this book a lot. That's why I gave it a 3.75, which is actually really a high rating. I feel like I'm talking really fast, but that's a high rating for me, especially a romance novel. Yeah, that was our first book. Gave it a 3.75. And moving on, after that I read Meet the Benedettos. So my sister actually found this book at Barnes & Noble when we were in South Carolina, and she read the back and she thought the cover was cute, and I was like, oh hey. And so I ended up reading it because it was a really short book. It was 250 pages. So I was like, I could probably read this pretty fast. And I actually ended up reading it in one day. I did give this a 2-star. It's basically a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but from A-list celebrities being the main characters. On the back it says The Kardashians meets Pride and Prejudice. And I don't know, it was not my favorite. There were a couple parts I honestly, I think I liked some parts, but I can't even fully remember like total plot points because, you know, it's the exact same story as Pride and Prejudice if you've ever read that or seen the movies, like you know the plot. But it definitely was not my favorite book. I honestly don't have much more to say about it. It's a 2-star for me, and I would not recommend. Okay, and then after that I got this book at the same time, I believe, as the Meet the Benedettos. So I got This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, and I read this and also one day in South Carolina. And I feel like I didn't talk about it much in that video, so I'll talk about it more in this one. So in this book, it's like a back and forth between past and present. And basically we start off with this girl Lucy going to Prince Edward Island to meet her friend, and she stops to get food and she meets this guy, and this book is like very spicy. But she ends up going home with him and finds out later that it's her best friend Bridget's brother. And the little rule that the two friends had was that she cannot fall in love with her friend's brother. That happens, and then she vows never to do that again. And then it flashes back to the present time, and her best friend is supposed to be getting married, and she ends up leaving and going back to Prince Edward Island without telling anyone why. No reason. She just up and leaves. And she like loves planning her wedding and stuff, and she will not talk about the wedding. So she forces her brother and her friend Lucy, the main character, to go to Prince Edward Island to be with her, to have like a little last hurrah. She and the brother have like history, so that just gets a little awkward. But then eventually you find out later why the friend who's getting married, Bridget, why she decides to leave. It's confusing, but I think I gave this book a 3-star. And the only reason, if minus all the spice and stuff, I actually liked this plot and the characters, I would say, better than Just for the Summer. But I could not relate to them and what they were doing. So that was a lot of the book. Like almost every flashback they would do had a little thing I had to skip, which was kind of sad because this book wasn't too long. It was like 330 pages. I did like the plot and I did like the characters, just not the spice. So be warned, if you read this book, there's a lot of spice. I don't think I would recommend it. I think you could find better summer books without spice. I don't know. Let's just move on because I'm talking too much about this book. And then these books I did not read while I was on vacation. So I read Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. So this book was about a single mother who's actually getting a divorce, I believe. I don't think she was divorced yet, but they were getting a divorce. It's been like a year. She has 3 kids. And she's just kind of down in the dumps. She's a professional organizer, but her house is like a mess. Like she's not keeping her life together, but trying to keep others together. And then she meets this guy at the dog park, and it doesn't know who it is, but they decide to go on like a date together. And it was the first date that she had since her husband, I believe. She doesn't realize it, but it's actually her best friend's brother. I don't know why we are so on a kick of best friends' brothers in these romance novels, but whatever. They end up hitting it off a lot. He calls himself like not very serious. Like the reason that his ex-girlfriend broke up with him was because he wasn't serious, but in actuality he had a lot of characteristics that she was looking for, and he was serious, just not about the things that like his parents wanted him to be serious about and things like that. But it was a lot about the mom and how she was dealing with her life, how she learned to stand up for herself, and how the male character kind of helped her with that, just kind of coming out of her shell. And I did enjoy that a lot. So I gave this book a 4-star. If I think back on this book, I liked it a lot. It did not have much spice. I think there was one part I had to skip, if I'm remembering correctly, and I don't even think it was like a scene. I think it was like implied, if I'm remembering correctly. Kind of a lot of these books are like kind of the same, and like it kind of meshes together in my head. That's why I'm more of a fantasy reader. But yeah, I really did enjoy this book a lot. I've heard a lot of people rave about it. I don't think I'd rave about it. For the summer, it was a really good read, so I gave it 4 stars. Last but not least, okay, I told a little lie. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I told a little fib. I finished today, which is the 1st of July. I finished this book today. So technically I didn't finish it in June, but I'm counting it for this because I had 2 chapters left and I just could not stay up last night to read it. So I am still counting it because I read it in June, okay? Okay. And that book is The Happily Ever After Playlist by Abby Jimenez. Now you might be wondering, I didn't love the first book just for the summer. Why did I pick up another one? Because I don't know. And I'm glad I did, because I actually really liked this book. I liked it a lot more than just for the summer. So basically, there's this girl whose husband actually recently, 2 years ago, died. She hasn't dated anyone since. She's an artist and she hasn't been painting what she wants to paint. And she's just kind of been down in the dumps a little bit. And it's almost the 2-year anniversary of her husband's death. She almost hits a dog on the road. She decides to keep that dog because she's trying to get a hold of the owner and everything, and the owner would not call her back or text her back or anything. So she decided she was going to keep this dog. But eventually the owner calls her back, and he was in Australia, I think, for like 2 weeks, so he couldn't contact her because his phone had no service. And she decides that she's not going to give the dog back. It's her dog now, she says. And so he's like, okay, you guys don't need to know the full details, I guess. I don't know why I'm telling you the full entire synopsis of like the first few chapters of this book. But basically they start texting, and eventually she's like, I feel bad, I will give you back your dog when you come back. But she's gonna watch him until he comes back to the States. They are like texting and stuff, and then eventually he's like, go on a date with me. And she's like, no. And then he keeps, and then she's like, fine. She's like, we will go on an outing together. And they end up hitting it off. She finds out later that he is actually a famous musician, and they start dating. And basically it's their love story and what goes down. And I really liked this book. There were a couple scenes, all these books are just unnecessary. If without those scenes, this probably would have been a 5-star book, but I'm gonna give it a 4.5 because there were a couple of spice scenes that I had to skip. One big one, actually, I think if they were just, I could just like rip out that chapter and this would be a 5-star book. 4.75. 4.75. I'll give that a 4.75. I really enjoyed this book. Actually, toward the end, there's something that happens and it almost makes me tear up thinking about it, because while I was reading it, I almost teared up too. But he is just such like the perfect guy, and he's so nice and so considerate and everything, and it's just, he's a great guy, and I just really liked this book. I would highly recommend this book. Maybe rip out chapter 23. Chapter 23. You don't need chapter 23. Other than that, this book was so good. I really liked the dynamic between the two characters, and she had some friends that I really liked too. Oh, there were a few swear words in here too. I think the friend swore the most, but I really liked this book. Almost 5 stars, but not quite. I can't remember the last time I gave a book 5 stars. Yeah, those are the books that I read. They're actually so cute and summery and cute and aesthetic together. They're so cute. Yeah, so we had a 3.75, a 2-star, a 3-star, a 4-star, and a 4.75 star. Whoop whoop. That is a win. That is a win. So yeah. Okay, I actually had not planned on doing this, but I'm gonna show you guys some books that I bought today at Barnes, because of course I go to Barnes literally all the time. Okay, let me show you the books that I bought. So a lot of these were inspired by, of course, Haley Pham and her 5-star reads. But let's just get into it. Okay, first I got Powerful, which is a novella to Powerless, which I actually have not even read yet. But I think that might be my next read because I'm getting a little tired of romance. It's getting a little repetitive, so I might pick up that novel next and read that because I need something different. But I got Powerful by Lauren Roberts, the novella to Powerless, and I'll probably read this like right after I read Powerless, and I think her new book is coming out really soon. So that's the first book I got. And then I got The Ministry of Time, which I know is like a, is it like a sci-fi, like fantasy romance, something like that. I don't even know what it's labeled under, but I know it has something to do with time travel, and I think there is a little romance in it, but that's like a subplot. And the only reason I know all of this is because of one of Haley Pham's videos, and I think she rated this 5 stars. That's the only reason I know this. But I do want to read this one eventually. It does not look like it's going to be too hard to read, if you can see that. The font's pretty large. Oh, it's like 300 30 pages, so that's not even bad. So that's the next book I bought. I also got another Haley Pham 5-star, I think. Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. I have no idea what this book is about. I have no clue. I didn't even read the back. Give me a sec. I don't get it. But look, it's blue. I don't know. We'll see when I get to this book. If you like this book and you want me to read it, leave it in the comments below because I don't really know anything about it. And then lastly, I got the new Ashley Poston novel, a novel love story. I'm so excited to read this. I read the 7-Year Slip. I'm not sure if I read that in a video. I kind of feel like I did, but I don't remember which one it was. I actually really did like that book a lot, so I'm excited to read this. A lot of her books I know have some kind of like magic in it, so I am excited to see what this book has in store for that. I didn't read the back. I kind of want to go into it blind, so we'll see how that goes, but I gotta be in the mood for another romance, which I am not at the moment. So the next reading book you guys see, I might be in a little fantasy kick. We'll see. I don't know. I think romance is good for the summer. Fantasy is for the fall. We'll see. So those are the books that I got at Barnes today. Literally today, because I went. And yeah, that's it, guys. Let me know if you have any book recommendations for me to read. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.